Slam Down Podcast is sponsored by Body Slam Jam, the wrestling game YouTuber. To see his videos on YouTube, search YouTube Body Slam, capital N and Jam, or to follow him by Twitter, it is at Body Slam, capital N Jam. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Slam Down Podcast with me, your host, Ashley Friend. We're going to be covering everything TNA related. I know a lot of people have been tweeting, and a lot of people seem to be worried about TNA at the minute with what's going on with counter lawsuits between TNA and between Billy Corgan. It's hard to judge what is actually going on. From what we've heard from TNA and what we've seen on their website, it seems like the Fight Network have took over the majority share of TNA, but from what Corgan is saying, he still hasn't been paid. I'm not too happy with the way Corgan's been slagging off TNA, but then we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Hopefully, when I have one of my guests that will be coming up in the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to find out more what actually is going behind the scenes and what the roster is actually told. Because we will be having a TNA knockout on one of our shows talking about the state of TNA, what is it like in the locker room, and about creative. But today's show, we're going to really dig into the latest show, because here in the UK we get it on a Sunday, so this is why I do the show today. First thing I want to quickly cover, I'm gutted about the news where TNA will no longer be on Challenge after January. Now, TNA have portrayed this to be like it was they're moving to a new network because of spoilers. Let's be honest. Because they're a taped wrestling company, we're going to get spoilers. But to a degree, I kind of agree with TNA on this. You know, they were getting Impact on, I'm trying to think now, Thursday. They get Thursday in America, but we have to wait till Sunday. So that is quite a big time difference. And another thing, if you follow Dixie Carter, for example, she will talk about Impact, and it's like, well, you've just ruined it for us. That seems to be the problem, because when TNA is on, I have to avoid certain sites on Facebook. I have to avoid a lot of stuff because I don't want to be spoiled. But if it is going to a better network, brilliant. But if it's not, then it makes me a bit wary, because if they're losing Challenge, who they're going to lose next? You know, especially, you know, as they were with Challenge. Challenge was on Freeview, it was on Sky, it was on Virgin, it was on every single provider you can get. And there's not many providers they could go to that could give them that platform. So it's made me a bit of wary about, you know, where we're going to watch TNA in the UK. I'm trying to think if there's any other bits of TNA news that I need to cover. There's been so much coming out recently. Also, I want to apologise that I wasn't on last week. The reason we wasn't on there last week is due to health. I was feeling awful, so I didn't really want to do my shows feeling the way I was feeling, and you know, because it's only me on my own, so when I am ill I haven't got anybody else to cover me. So, but I will be going over this week's Impact. I can't really say if it's better than the last one or not, because it seems TNA are doing a bit of a WWE thing where it's sort of stagnated again. You know, they had a couple of shows that were brilliant, and then they've just sort of stayed at that. They haven't got better and they haven't got worse. They've stagnated. Oh, I can't even get the word out. But yeah, they've not gone up or down. A lot of the creative directions on some of the superstars and some of the storylines is worrying. You know, they brought in Aaron Rex, formerly known as Mizdown, and it's like one moment he was the good guy, now he's the bad guy. It's like they don't know where to place him. They don't know the right gimmick to give him or the way to portray him. Which is a worry for me, because TNA used to be such a great place to grab underused or badly used talent from the WWE, repackage them and make them fantastic. You know, we've always had that in the past. You know, you look at your characters like EC3, Eli Drake, Drew Galloway. So it worries me. You know, and also I wouldn't say he has the best wrestling ability either. You know, spinning elbow as a finisher, yeah, no. But they do need to do a lot of work. We saw, where was it now? We saw EC3 hit the Impact Zone, continuing the feud with Eli Drake, and Edwards was there, and the Miracle came out. So predictable. And then Moose made his down the ring. But then Eddie Edwards went up, so I didn't know. It was a bit of a mess, to be honest. But it led into the qualifying match. Winner goes forward to the number 1 contender match, where we had Moose versus the Miracle, which to me is another repeated match from Bound and Glory. Problem I'm finding with TNA at the minute is the lack of roster is hurting them, and the lack of financial stability is worrying. You know, as you know, with them being on Pop TV and they haven't had the money they used to, seems production seems to be lacking as well. It's worrying me. And another thing I've been wondering, I watched the Taz podcast, and he had Jeremy Borash on there, and you know, Jeremy Borash was actually talking that it's him and Matt that come up with this whole new gimmick. If Borash is able to come up with those ideas and those character and gimmicks, why is he not on creative? Because you had thought someone to portray that and do things the way that gimmick's being portrayed, then surely enough it's proving how good he is and that he should be given a chance working on the creative. The Moose and Miracle match was a good match. I don't really like to talk about too much about what happens in the match, because I'd rather people go and watch it. I'd have liked to see Moose gone over, but at the minute it seems like they're protecting Bennett till he holds the title. You know, because Moose got counted out by a ref's count out after he was thrown into the stairs, which in a way doesn't really hurt Moose. If they did it with Bennett getting the pin over Moose, that would hurt him. We got a recap of the Hardys and the DCC, and which saw Mad Hardy fall off the top of the forklift. And we also saw Al Snow is back. Saying that Jar Bruno has a big surprise for him. But also recently we've learnt now that Al Snow's training academy in the UK as well is going to be TNA's developmental. I've got to talk about this bit, haven't I? We saw Brother Nero on his motorcycle heading down the road. Goes to the Hardy compound. Rebby tells him Matt's not the same, and sees Matt hammering an nail, asking Mr. Benjamin what to do and things like that. So completely not being the Matt Hardy We know, doesn't realise he's a wrestler and all this lot. It was alright. Al Snow came to the ring, said to the tribunal he wouldn't be here without him. Snow celebrates and everything else, and then is hit by the tribunal and laid on the floor. Shira comes down, tries to help out Snow, and the tribunal take him down. Basic, really. But I do like the way they are putting the tribunal now, and it's looking like they've got the sort of right character, the right look as well, and being used as in the right way. Because when they first came in, I thought they were just going to be used as the joking French gimmick, but they've seemed to have twisted that, and which is a lot better. Next we had EC3 taking on the Monster Abyss in the #1 contender qualifier. In the outbreak, you saw Jesse Goddess is waiting for Aaron Rex to arrive. Jesse asked if you've seen what he's been doing. Jesse says out here, in charge of what happens, and he's going to kick Ray Rex's ass, basically. Abyss makes his way into the ring without Crazy Steve, and now, ladies and gentlemen, EC3. I can't really say it was a good match or a bad match. It was alright. Still feel like they're not doing much with Abyss. EC3 got a choke on him, choked him out. Carter went off after his victory, and then we got told that Gail Kim was going to make a monumental announcement. Then we saw a promo package of Eddie Edwards and Eli Drake, and then we was back at the Hardy house. Rebby is playing Matt Hardy's music to try and whip up memories. Neo tells him to save it for later. Let's sing. Rebby starts playing the obsolete suit with Rebby, Neo and Senor Benjamin singing, each time waiting for Matt to chime in. He finally does with Isn't It Ironic? And I died. That's the show. Good night, everybody. Neo thinks it is telling Matt to come... Oh. He tells Matt to come with a ride. Matt calls him Brother Hero. Where is your car? Nero says Jeff Hardy doesn't have a car. They jump on the motorcycle. Jeff goes, isn't this exciting? Matt goes, no. See, I'm sort of falling off the Hardy bandwagon. I think it's getting a bit too predictable, a bit too meh, and a bit boring with the way they're portraying the Hardys now. But we went back to the Impact Zone. We saw Gail Kim, Guy Jess. You know, JBI said that they've been great friends. Jay comes out and says, you know, believe that she's enjoyed what she saw in her, but then is interrupted by Decay. By Rosemary interrupts, flanked by Crazy Steve and Abyss. Gail shakes her head as Decay make their way down into the ramp. Rosemary into the ring. Gail approaches Rosemary. Rosemary hits with the poison mist to Gail Kim. Gail Kim gets to the floor. Start attacking Gail Kim. While Jade is being held by Crazy Steve and Abyss. Then we went to another break, and then we came to Trevor Lee. He's heading to the ring as it became the X Division competitors for #1 contender, where we saw GJZ, Trevor Lee and Rockstar Spud. Right, I'm going to have to get this point off my chest, because this is one thing that has been really bugging me about TNA, and it is going to be a bit of a rant, so I will warn you now. What the hell are they doing to the X Division? Jesus Christ. They give us X Gold, then they give us Jesus Christ, TNA. What are you doing to us? TNA are so badly ruining the X Division. The last time the X Division showed a slight glimpse is when we saw Tiger Uno. He was champion and we thought, this is going to be the massive reboot. I'm just going to grab a drink. But no, they failed us. Again. I can't understand TNA. I can't. You know, people who've watched it from the early days, from 2001, knows what TNA is about. You know, we've had the guys like Amazing Red, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, Cesarian, and so many great X Division athletes. And they were in good matches. They were portrayed correctly. The X Division was admired. Now the X Division is meh. You know, you've got guys like that. Mike Andrews, brilliant high flyer. Andrew Everett, brilliant high flyer. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing the X Division being really held back, and it annoys the hell out of me. Because in my eyes, Trevor Lee is not an X Division wrestler. He's a good wrestler, don't get me wrong, but he's not an X Division to me. Nor is Braxton Sutter. I could not understand why they put him in the X Division. He's not an X Division athlete. It blows my mind. Yeah. But we saw Trevor Lee win this with the Fisherman Buster and wins. At the back we see Aiden O'Shea with Robbie E and Grado telling him they're in luck. The boss says they'll have a match, not against each other, but with each other in a handicap match. Robbie E and Grado are over the moon. Do they want to know who they're fighting and who the unlucky bro is? And it's Lashley. Right, I can't understand this Robbie E and Grado pairing. I really can't get my head around it. You know, Robbie E is part of the Bromans with Jesse Goddard. So you've got Jesse Goddard going after Aaron Rex for some reason on his own. And what? I can't work it out. See, poor management again. And for all those naysayers that complain about Dixie Carter, Corgan's running this. That's, to me, that says it all. We saw the qualifying match between Robbie and Grado. There's no real reason to go into this match too much, to be honest. We all know Lashley wins. Lashley celebrates. We saw Aaron Rex get out of his car, and then Jesse Goddard attacks him around the backstage, and then Aaron Rex manages to get back in his car and drive off. We saw Nero trying to get off the motorbike and tries to get Matt into the Lake of Reincarnation. So basically making Matt saying he's lost his magic and he refuses to get in the water. And then Jeff says, fine, I'll go to Orlando on my own. That's about it. Eli Drake is making his way to the ring. He looks more good about winning the Bound for Gold, and becoming champion. So, leading to the match of Eli Drake versus Eddie Edwards, which was another. It was a good match. But Eddie Edwards wins with the Boston Knee Party. And was the match. Oh, I did miss one thing. They celebrate in the ring, but it was cut short because the DDC start picking apart Eddie Edwards in a triple attack. One grabs the World Heavyweight Champions and lay it across Eddie Edwards. one guy takes his mask off, and we see it's Eddie Kingston, an indie wrestler that looks like he's finally joined TNA, and then we see Bram, and then we see James Storm. I can understand why they've done James Storm returning. You know, he was suspended by Billy Corgan, so I can understand that. I can't understand why Bram is in this group. Bram was taken away, for people that remember, by Decay in the boot of a car and disappeared. And we haven't seen him since. So how can he suddenly just reappear in the muck? Creative, get your shit together, please. Please, it's just awful. But yeah, that was the end of Impact. I can't really say many great things about Impact, and I can't say many bad things. There's a lot of work that needs to be done on a lot of areas. You know, I hate to see the way TNA is at the minute. But it's getting worse. It's just... But anyway. Next week, tomorrow we've got Raw review. And on Wednesday we've got SmackDown review. But yeah, I think this is everything TNA. I don't think there's anything else that I've missed or anything I need to cover. We're back next week talking about TNA, but starting off tomorrow, we'll be talking about WWE Raw. So a big thanks to all you listeners listening. This has been me, your host, and you've been listening to Slam Down Podcast. Slam Down Podcast is sponsored by Body Slam and Jam, the wrestling game YouTuber. To see his videos on YouTube, search YouTube, Body Slam, capital N and Jam. Or to follow him by Twitter, it is @BodySlam, capital N, Jam.